Evan isn't a nutritionist who stumbled into coaching. He's a leadership strategist who realized the boardroom and the kitchen demand the same thing: decisive action from a clear mind. After helping thousands of leaders reclaim their edge, Evan built the Better Bite Buddy, his playbook in your pocket, and I use it and I love it. No shame, no noise, just clarity when it matters most. He's going to be sharing about how you can silence your inner critic. Please welcome Evan to the stage.
Well, thank you. Let me share my screen. Okay, so today we're going to talk about something that we all have. Let me turn this into presentation mode. So, what if your success is costing you your health? Everybody that I've worked with, all the hundreds of business executives and leaders that I've worked with have climbed that ladder to success and they thought they had to leave their health on the bottom rung. They did it. And what I do is I take them back up to the top rung before they fall off altogether. And the idea here is that I do it three different ways. I do it by helping them lose weight with their minds, not their mouths. And that's the weight on their shoulders, not just around their middle. I help them be intentional with their health. But more importantly, and what I'm going to focus on today, is I help them tame their inner critic. Everybody in here has an inner critic. I promise. Because this morning, my inner critic spoke up. I did not want to get out of bed this morning. When that alarm went off, that inner critic said, "Oh, just go back for a few minutes." Did that happen to anybody else today? Right? That's the first start of an inner critic. Now, part of what you need to do is be able to understand the inner critic, how it was designed, and what you need to do to silence it or tame it and help develop your inner coach, because that's going to help you reclaim your energy, your confidence and control. And the purpose of this talk is so that if you think about taking better care of yourself, these private victories that I love that all the speakers have been talking about is taking really care of yourself internally and understanding, becoming more aware. And that leads to a major transformation and amazing things. And that's what I'm going to talk about. But I want you to imagine all of these voices that are in your head. All of these voices are voices. These are from your belief system.
Hey, bro, I'm in a Zoom. I'll call you right back, okay?
People are going to be hearing these voices, and the voices will say things that you think is you. But part of the challenge is that it's not you. Who who is the voice and who are you? I'm going to help you understand that because those voices, you might hear voices that are extremely negative, and by default, most voices are negative. 75% by default are negative, and the negatives tend to ruminate. What I want you to think about, though, is what if you could take that negativity and use it to fuel a reframe and create a more positive perspective in your mind? One that says, instead of being negative, it says, you know what? You can do the things you want to do. Because the one thing we do, person mentioned procrastination. Well, yeah, we procrastinate not because we don't want to do it. It's because our inner critics are challenging us. They're keeping us safe. Those voices were designed to protect us, but they're doing a really lousy job of it. Voices that might say things like, you should have figured this out by now. Where you might hear it say, "Oh, I don't have time." Like one of my clients told me, "I don't have time to cook. I don't have time to shop. I don't have time to exercise." But now she's 75 pounds down and she has her A1C down from 14.1 to 6.7, which means she has better blood sugar control and she's living her best life. What if you always hear that voice saying you always mess this up? Well, you don't have to listen to these voices. I'm going to teach you how. But first, I wanted to share my story. When I was a kid, my nickname was Heavy Ebie, but I believed when I walked into a room that I was too big, I was too slow, I just didn't fit in. And I really thought that those voices in my head were me until one day, because I didn't want to be Heavy Ebie anymore. I looked in the mirror and said, you know what? I don't have anybody here to save me. I'm going to have to make these changes. And I went through a summer where I made some changes, just ordinary habit changes, and it led to a transformation that I've been re-engineering, reverse engineering my whole life. I wanted to figure out if I could help myself, how could I help all the other people that I've worked with? And I decided to go to school for this. I went pre-med, but didn't want to be a doctor, didn't want to be a psychologist. And when I found nutrition, all of a sudden it was, this is exactly what I wanted to do. But I still had that inner critic in my head, that inner critic that was constantly berating me in the boardroom, at my presentations, working with my teams, until I discovered how to silence it. And when I did, that's when my business took off. I spent 20 years in corporate America in sales, in management, and then in leadership. And what I learned after being in corporate America was that it sucks the joy out of everything that you do, but it doesn't do it intentionally. So I want to bring more mojo back to the corporate world. And the way that we do that is we learn who your inner critic is and understand that it's an older survival mechanism. If the you think about the lizard brain, the amygdala is this fight or flight response that happens when we were thousands of years ago living in a cave and we put our heads out and said, "Oh, look at what a beautiful sunrise it was." Those cavemen didn't survive because they got eaten by the saber-toothed tiger. Or the ones that went out and looked at, "Oh, what a beautiful sunset." When the warring tribe that was coming to take over killed them, he didn't survive. So it's part of our genetics, our human genetics, but we're not just humans. As Rick mentioned, I believe we're spiritual beings living in a human body, having a human existence in this duality between the comfort zone, which is what our inner critics are trying to do, is protect you and keep you safe, versus our spiritual being, our divine being saying, hey, if you don't do these things, you're never going to grow and learn what your true purpose is, and you're not going to have agency. That is really where the magic happens when you work with the two of these. You don't want the inner critic being the CEO of your life, right? You don't want it running the show. You don't want it pushing you harder, burning you out. You want to lose yourself with that actual noise. What we want to do is identify the inner critic first. Now, I have a quiz, Discover Your Inner Critic, on that's free, a free course, but the course that I'm sharing with you today is going to help you not just identify your inner critic, it's going to help you tame it. And here are a few of them. The perfectionist maestro is the one that says, I've got it. I'm going to do it because nobody can do it better than me. It's got to be perfect or it's not done. The wanderlust adventurer, you'll never see them behind a desk because they're always getting bored. They never can sit still or do the same thing. The overdrive samurai, the one who is always externally motivated. They get a win, and guess what? They're on to the next win and the next win. They can never just be satisfied with who they are. Logic mastermind, think of Spock, right? Spock said, emotions, I don't have anything to do with that. Everything has to be logical. The comfort seeker, the one who wants to keep it safe. You know what? I want to avoid conflict. Always staying in the comfort zone. And the detail deacon is similar to the perfectionist maestro, but what the perfectionist maestro differs here is the detail deacon keeps his or her head on the details and misses the big vision and the big picture. Wow. What do you do to stop the noise? Well, first you got to recognize it. Let's point it out. Hey, that's the inner critic. Then we take and we reframe what that inner critic is saying to you. Because what the inner critic is saying is really trying to keep you in your comfort zone. And it's doing a lousy job of protecting you. It was designed when you were up to the age of 7, when your identity was tied to your parents. And all of a sudden you started to develop your own identity, but you weren't developed enough here to really make an understanding that, hey, my parents did things that may not have been great, like some of what happened with me. I come from trauma in my past, but that trauma, when you're processing it, you shoot for blame. And then you also process as shame instead of really truly understanding that, hey, I'm a parent. We're all human. We all make mistakes. But this is how the inner critics are created. And then we need to replace with that reframe. a change in behavior because you're now driven differently, understanding that, hey, I'm not going to listen to that inner critic, but who are you going to listen to? You're going to listen to that voice that is the witness, the voice inside of you, not the all those separate voices, but the one that hears the voices. That's you. That's the inner coach. It's the one that can witness everything, but it's the one inside that's curious, courageous. And I want you to meet your inner critic right now.
We are
There you
right at
go. So when you listen to your inner coach, your world's going to change. So what I'm doing right now is I'm offering you the way to quiet the noise and trust yourself again. A 21-day from chaos to clarity. This 21-day challenge has videos and easy steps that are 1 or 2 minutes that you practice each day so that within that, by that end of that 21 days, you are going to tame that inner critic.